What's up guys, my name is June Gray. Welcome to another Guild Wars video. On today's video, I'm going to be telling you all about Daybreak. Daybreak is a third-party launcher for Guild Wars that simplifies and streamlines the installation of other third-party tools, as well as the launching process for Guild Wars with these tools. Basically, Daybreak makes it so you can launch your game with text mods, toolbox, multi-launch, and several other mods and launch options from one location. Now, before we get into the informative section of the video, I want to give a bit of a disclaimer for anyone wondering about the legality of using these tools. I will link either on the video or in the description to my video where I'm showing my Guild Wars mods back in 2025, and I talk about the terms of service. TLDR, you're not going to get banned. For how niche of an online game that Guild Wars is, and for how locked down the game's code has always been, I feel as if there's been a bunch of third-party tools for the game. Going back to the early days, there was TextMod, the new mod, there was even a couple multi-launcher clients prior to 2010, there's Gmod, the greatest of all time toolbox, there's Guild Wars Launcher, and now Daybreak. Daybreak was originally released in 2020 by the Reddit user SpiderBruh as a simple launcher for Guild Wars with the purpose of storing login information to more quickly log into the game. And over the years after its release, it's evolved into a simplified way to install and run everything else for the game. To download Daybreak, just go to their GitHub page. On the right side of the page, under Releases, click the Daybreak file link that says Latest beside it. Then download the zip file for your system. Once downloaded, place the zip file in a location of your choice. I'm going to keep mine here in Downloads just for this video. Then you'll need to extract the zip folder using either 7-zip, WinRAR, WinZip, or whatever other zip program you have, or your native extraction function if you have that. I wouldn't delete the leftover zip folder until you finish setting it up. So if you screw up your install, you can delete it, re-extract it, and start over. Now on to installation and setup. My method for installing Daybreak will be a little different than yours probably, since I'm on Linux and not Windows. If you're on Windows, then this should just install like any other program. To launch Daybreak, open up the folder that you just extracted. For me, the launcher is all the way at the bottom. It's the Daybreak executable file. On Windows, it'll be daybreak.exe. So just double click it. And there's going to be a couple pop-ups normally. I'm actually going to go to here and up the scale just for the video purposes. All right, when Daybreak launches for the first time, it's going to prompt you to do several things. The first thing is going to be to add an account. When you click it, everything kind of just disappears. I do think this is where the launcher could use some work. The launcher interface isn't organized in the most user-friendly way, but hey, it's a completely free program that does all the work for you. There's really no room for complaints here, but there might be some room for UI improvements in my opinion. We're going to click on the little plus button here in the top left. This adds an account, and you'll just need to fill yours in. I'm just going to do test@email.com, password 123. This info is not uploaded anywhere and only stored on your system. But if you ever do record videos or stream, just know if you ever pull this up, you can leak your account info. If you have multiple Guild Wars accounts, you can add them here as well, just by clicking plus again. So I'm going to add test2@email.com, password 321. Next, click the hamburger menu here in the top left. The only drop downs here that you'll need to mess with to start out with are Guild Wars, Daybreak, and Settings. Right now we're under Settings in Accounts. Next, click Executables. Click the plus. And you just want to find where one of your installs is. So I'm going to add GW Daybreak. Now, if you don't know where your install's at, Daybreak can install the game for you. And if you're on Linux, I would recommend this. So go to the hamburger menu, Guild Wars, download Guild Wars, and then place it, wherever you want to place it. This really just makes a fresh install with nothing else in the folder. And that can matter for later steps on Linux systems. If you're not making a new install, You're going to go back to settings and executables. And if you have any other executables or accounts that you want to multi-launch, just click plus again and find one. So here I've got GW Daybreak and then GW Reforged. Next step, go back to Guild Wars section and click Manage Mods. Depending on if you're running Windows or Linux, then you may have different options here. But this is why Daybreak is amazing, because it automatically installs and manages different tools and mods. Under the Manage Mods section, so we're under Guild Wars Manage Mods, these mods are installed globally and can be turned on or off later for different accounts. So I do recommend installing them all here. So you just click each one. If it's not installed, you just click install. Wait for it to install. Enable it. Let's go through the list. Guild Wars Toolbox is already installed. And the last step here is extremely important for Linux users who want to play with the direct song pack music. And trust me, you do want to play with the direct song pack music. So install Daybreak's wine prefix. This allows Daybreak to install and manage its own version of wine that is pre-configured to support the direct song pack on Linux. All right, that's all of them installed globally. The next two steps are actually going to happen outside of Daybreak. If you have any TextMod TPF files you want to use, copy and paste them into the plugins folder. It doesn't actually have to be in the plugins folder where you launch Daybreak from. You can make a new folder or put it in any other folder, I think, just as long as they're, organized in a location that you know where they are. So I'm actually just going to grab mine from my main Daybreak install. So I'm going to put my TPF files in the plugins folder. This next step only applies to anyone who has already been using Toolbox and has yours set up in a specific way that you want to keep. So you'll need to copy your GW Toolbox PP folder from your Wine Documents folder and paste it to your Linux System Documents folder. Daybreak actually uses it instead. So to find normally on just a regular install of Wine, it's going to be under your root, home, and then me, and then .wine. If you can't see the .wine, you just have to hit Control H to show hidden folders. And so normally you can install Guild Wars, you can install Toolbox into different locations. So this may not be exactly where yours is at, but by default, the normal install is going to be in your Wine folder. So mine's in Wine, Drive C, Users, Me, and it's going to be in this Documents. So you just want to copy GW Toolbox PP, copy it, go back to Home, and then where's it at? Documents. So now I'm in my Linux System Documents, not my Wine Documents. So this is where you want to paste it, because this is where Daybreak actually pulls your Toolbox profiles and settings from. All right, so now we're going to go to Launch Configurations. Click the plus, and it's going to automatically fill most of this for you. So right now we basically created a profile within Daybreak. So I'm going to make test 1. I'm going to keep doing test 1. I'll make it yellow. You can change the launch button color here. If you added multiple installs of the game, you can choose which Guild Wars.exe you're going to run. Here you can change the account. I'm going to use that one. And then you can do launch arguments like -image or -fps. You can also turn on or off Steam support here. If you have Steam running, this allows you to have the Steam overlay run in game, as well as track your playtime through Steam. I personally don't play with it on because I've been using my own controller config for years, and it doesn't work if Steam support is on. And lastly, a very important step, you can manage your Daybreak mods for this specific launch configuration. And one issue as of right now, with this version of Daybreak, you can't use Daybreak API and Toolbox at the same time because they actually use some similar software, and it causes Guild Wars Toolbox to not run. So just turn off Daybreak API until they make a workaround for that if you want to use Toolbox. So I'm just going to turn on each mod for this profile. And the last step in this section, if you have text mod TVF files, here beside Gmod, you click Manage, and then click Plus, and then, we put ours in the plugins folder, and they may not show up. Mine's searching for zip files, so I'll just change it to TPF files, and there they are. So I just add them, and it's going to add them. And you can order them and enable different ones. I have mine numbered because that's how you change the load order for mods in Guild Wars Launcher. So I'm just going to go through and adjust mine. All right, once you get those ordered, you can actually enable and disable different mods. I don't actually use the high-res skill icon mods anymore. Yeah, just because that's offered by the game by default now. Now, if you have multiple installs of Guild Wars that you want to multi-launch, you want to go through the same process as adding the first, but you also want to make sure you have the multi-launch support option turned on, and that's down here in Launcher, right here, multi-launch support. You just want to turn that on. And now the game is finally ready to launch. To launch, under the Guild Wars dropdown, click Game Companion, and this is going to be where you launch your different installs from. So I have 2 installs for mine. I have 2 accounts, so I'm just going to select me, launch it. Down here at the bottom right, it's going to tell you which different mods and stuff loaded, and if they don't load, it's going to give you an error. All right, now let's just load in. All right, first thing you're going to do when you hop in is to make sure everything's running. I can tell Toolbox is running. Open the Toolbox settings. It's running. My TPF file is loaded, so all my visual mods loaded. And you can tell if Direct Song is working by going to your F11 sound options. And if this little music note down here pops up, normally you won't have that there unless you have the Direct Song mod loaded. But if it's gray, then the mod is functioning. And if it's gold, then that means, or it says Direct Song is currently playing additional music from a song pack. This actually used to be an optional feature offered by the game, but it was only available for people who purchased the music from the web store or if you had a collector's edition, but hasn't officially functioned in a long time. And the sole fact that Daybreak makes this easily work on Linux is the reason why I use Daybreak. If you've ever tried to get the Direct Song mod working on Linux, even Windows, it's kind of annoying, but on Linux, it's like a 50-50 chance that it works. And the reason why I wanted it so much was because I used to be on Windows, and I used to use the Direct Song mod years ago. And I haven't been able to get it to work for like 4 or 5 years on Linux. And the music it adds is just, it's so refreshing after playing with the limited track the base game offers. So that's the Daybreak basics. If you have any issues or questions, I'll do my best to answer them in the comments. If you can't find an answer though, join the Guild Wars Toolbox Discord, where you can discuss Toolbox, Guild Wars Launcher, and Daybreak stuff. So thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. You and out.